Good evening, everyone. I'm Ross from Smith 150 Group Property Accountants, and we're going to look at 3 simple tips to reduce your interest. What can you do? Obviously, we're all really nervous. We're all hating it. Interest rates are going up. They used to be about 2%, maybe a little bit over. Now they're getting up 4 or 5%. It's a bit of a shock to the system. So these are 3 little tips, 3 little tricks that you can look at. The first one is really easy. We've talked about it lots before. Obviously, can you make the interest on your debt deductible? So if it's your personal house, chances are the interest is not going to be deductible. If it's your personal batch, interest is not going to be deductible. But obviously it's commercial property, fully deductible. Borrowing on shares, fully deductible. Borrowing on new residential, fully deductible. Borrowing on existing residential, depends, but you're most likely going to be losing that interest over the next 4 years. And obviously there's some other tricks in that about interest deductibility. A lot of them we've gone through in other webinars, and we've actually also got another client webinar coming up shortly on it. But yeah, the first tip, can you make interest deductible? That's a big trick and a big thing that we look at a lot. Second one that we look at is, do you want a floating loan? So lots of people will have a loan, a floating facility for $200,000. It's sitting at $199,000. It never really goes down. You're not looking at paying it back in the next year, and it's just going to sit there for a while. So what's happening if we look at your standard sort of pages I look at interest.co.nz. So say ANZ Bank, just to keep it normal, and yeah, you'll notice interest.co.nz, it has ANZ, ASB, BNZ, all the other banks. It even has Resimac and things like that on here as well. Resimac. So it gives you a whole lot of great information, and we're just going to go ANZ to keep it simple. So at the moment, ANZ floating rate is 5.54%. So if you've got a $200,000 mortgage, if you're floating, and this is interest only, you're going to be paying $11,080 per year. Well, if you're going to have it for a whole year and it's just floating, it means your interest rate can go up. So if you're going to have it for a whole year, you might as well fix it for 6 or 12 months. So yeah, the 1 year rate, presuming you've got a low LVR or lower LVR, 4.55%. So that means your interest is only $9,100. You're saving $1,980 per year. 6 months, generally you'll find that that rate is slightly higher. So that's 4.65%. So I would be looking at, yeah, your normal sort of things. How long do you want to fix for? But if you're looking at a floating for, and it's going to float for the next year, 200,000, might as well fix it for 1 year and obviously save some interest. Or if you're looking at a shorter term, you could look at something like 6 months, but most likely I would go the longer. Yeah, because chances are at the moment interest rates are going up, so fixing it longer is probably better between the two. So that's our point number 2. Why would you float a huge amount when you can fix it for lower amounts? The only exception for that would be if you were getting the new build rate. So ANZ is 2.78, their blueprint to build. Obviously, it would be way cheaper to stay on their new build rate, their blueprint to build, than it would be to fix for 1 year or 6 months. So just something to look at. Got a large floating facility. If you can do a new build rate, great, go with it. If you can't, look at this sort of equation, and probably you're paying a whole lot more floating than you are 1 year. Number 3 is the hard one. This is just the maths of comparing all the different rates. So someone might be asking now, should I go for 5-year rates? And all these rates are nasty, 6.45%. And then we're looking at, how does that compare with 1 year? And none of us really know what's going to happen with 1 year. But at the moment, 4.55% if we're using ANZ. So in a year's time, what's the interest rate going to be? Is it going to jump up 5.75%? Just a big fat guess, to give you an example. And then maybe it goes up to 6.25%, and then maybe it stalls around 6%. So maybe that's your guess of what's going to happen with interest rates, and they're just my big guess. The average of those over the next 5 years is 5.71%. So if you thought that was going to happen and you're a higher risk person, and you've got some good cash flow, why would you fix it at 6.45, which is an average of 6.45 for the 5 years, when you're thinking interest rates are only going to average 5.71? Say we went a bit higher. Say we're expecting it to go 6.5, 7%, 7.5% over the next 5 years. You'll notice I'm still at 6.26. So let's go a little bit higher. 6.75, 7.25, 7.75. So this is what the rates would have to do over the next 5 years for us to end up with a higher rate by going 1 year. So it would have to be 4.55 the first year, then 6, then 6.75, 7.25, 7.75. So if you think interest rates are going to go up more than that, you'd be better to fix for the 5 years at 6.45. If you think interest rates are going to go less than that, then you'd be better to go 1 year all the way along. And obviously that's a higher risk strategy. The 5-year rate would be a lower risk strategy. And there is no right or wrong answer. What you'll find is most experts get it wrong. Most people get interest rates wrong. This is looking at your opinion. What do you think is going to happen? And it's you making a call. So like I say, if you think interest rates are going to go up less than this 1 year rate for each of the 5 years, then why would you fix it at 6.45? Because that's going to cost you a lot more. So hopefully, yeah, you understood that. It's just the mathematics of working out what's going to happen. And I've put in here the percentage increase in that example. So if you think interest rates are going to go higher than that, you'd fix for 5 years. That would make sense. If you think interest rates are going to be lower than that for each of the 5 years, then why would you fix unless you've got really low income and you need to be really conservative? 2-year rate, let's look at that. So at the moment, it's 5.85 with ANZ. So currently the first year rate's the same, 4.55. Let's just put in my same guess as what I put up here. It's not really a guess, it's just a number that I've made up. So let's say it's going to go up to 6%. So yeah, if you fix for 2 years, 5.85, your average is 5.85 over the 2 years. Whereas 4.55 and 6% is only going to give you a 5.28% average over those 2 years. So you'd probably need it to be, maybe not quite that. No, maybe it is that. Yeah, you'd need the second year rate to be up over, yeah, it would need to be 7.15% to be the same. So 4.15 and sorry, 4.55 and 7.15% fixed 1 year for each year. That averages 5.85%. Just double checking the maths there. So yeah, if you think if you're going to fix for 1 year and then you think in 1 year's time it's going to be higher than 7.15%, then you'd fix for 2 years. If you think it's going to be lower than 7.15%, then you just go 1 year and 1 year. And notice the huge jump up, that's 2.6%. So interest rates are really going to have to jump up. They're going to have to jump up 2.6% for your next 1 year fixed for the 5.85 for 2 years to make sense. 3-year rate, 6.15%. So we'll put in my same sort of examples, 6% and 6.75. So just the same numbers as I used above. That would be 5.75. So we're looking at it having to go up more. We're looking at it having to do something like that. So we're looking at the 1 year rate having to go 4.55 to 6.5 to 7.5% for it to be higher. So if you think interest rates are going to go up more than that, then you would do the 3-year rate because the 6.15% is cheaper. If you think that interest rates are going to go less than that, then you would do the 1 year rate because that is going to be cheaper. Again, you'll notice the big jump ups here, 2.6%, 1.95%. So it has to move quite a lot in the 1 year period to make these fixed rates work out. The big thing with this, there is no perfect answer, like I said. Fixing 2, 3, 5 years, there is no answers. None of us have a crystal ball. None of us know exactly, but it's important to sort of work through those maths and see what does it need to be to average 6.46? What does it need to go to average the 5.85 for 2 years? And what does it need to average to get to the 6.15 roundabout for the 3 years? So this gives you the basic numbers. It doesn't give you an answer. I'm not telling you to do fix 1 year, 2 year. That there is no right answer. It depends on your risk and what you think is going to go to happen to interest rate. But hopefully that gives you some maths to think about, and something useful with that. Speaking of things that are useful, we're running a rental basics tomorrow night, a webinar. I think it's at 7 p.m. and I'll put under the comments the link to it. It's really for newer property investors, people who have just bought a property, or people looking to buy. It's just going through the basic numbers. How does a new build work? What kind of things can you do? What's some maybe opportunities? Your personal house, there could be some. Just some other rental basics. Trying to give you some great information, not a sales pitch or anything like that. So have a look for that. And obviously, if you're a client, we've run a real advanced session on the interest limitation rules and a few other tricks and tips around Brightline and that sort of thing, and rollover relief. If you're a client, we can give you a copy of the recording, or we've got a repeat of that coming up. I think it's on the 19th of May, and we'll be sending out details about that a bit later on. Cool. Hopefully you really enjoyed that and got some great information. Thank you.